So, what if I told you there's a US visa specifically for geniuses? It's called the O-1A. For tech founders all over the world, it's pretty much a golden ticket, but it's also incredibly confusing. So today, we're going to break it all down by following one founder's crazy journey trying to navigate this whole process. And this quote, it really gets to the heart of the problem. This is about a founder named Agent-Petitioner. He's brilliant, his company is a potential game changer, but he is up against this massive wall of legal jargon. He's built something amazing, but the big question is, does it meet the US government's super specific definition of extraordinary? Literally, the future of his company depends on the answer. And that's the real question here, isn't it? What does it actually take? It's not about having a great idea or even raising a ton of money. It's about how you prove, on paper, that you fit into this tiny, very specific legal box. So let's dig into how it's actually done. To really get why the legal stuff is so tricky, you first have to understand the founder side of it, the dilemma they're in. So let's take a closer look at Arjun's situation. Okay, so let me introduce you to Arjun. He's the founder of an AI startup from Bangalore called TensorScale. And his big idea, this thing called the Adaptive Parallelization Engine, is a huge deal. It helps companies save a ton of money on machine learning. He's got press, he's got $3.5 million in funding, he's got big customers lining up. The one thing he doesn't have, a visa to actually run his company in the United States. So Arjun's got the tech, he's got the money, he's got the customers. What's the holdup? Well, it all boils down to this one very specific legal phrase, extraordinary ability. Let's talk about what that actually means. Okay, so here's the official legalese. And I mean, listen to that language, one of the small percentage who has risen to the very top of the field. We're not talking about being good or even being an expert. The law is asking you to prove you are in the absolute top tier. So how on earth do you prove something that sounds so subjective? Well, the law gives you two ways to prove it. Path number one, win something massive, like a Nobel Prize or an Olympic gold medal. Yeah, not gonna happen for most of us, right? So pretty much everyone, including founders like Arjun, takes path number two. You have to prove you meet at least 3 criteria from a list of 8 very specific options. So Arjun is going down path number 2, and this is where the real work begins. He has to basically reverse engineer his career and his company's success to fit into these little legal boxes. This is where you start mapping your real-world achievements onto these, very specific legal criteria. The first one they looked at, original contributions of major significance. Sounds intimidating, right? For Arjun, this was his ape engine. But he couldn't just say it was cool. He had to prove its major significance with things like data on customer adoption and metrics from GitHub. Okay, so that's one box checked. What's next? The second criterion, published material about the beneficiary. Basically, has anyone important written about you and your work? This is where that press coverage becomes absolutely crucial. Getting featured in a big-name publication like TechCrunch acts as outside proof that what you're doing is actually important to the industry. And that brings us to the third piece of the puzzle he used, proving he played a critical role for a distinguished organization. Now, you might hear distinguished organization and think, well, my tiny startup doesn't count. But here's the thing. Immigration law often considers a company that's gotten venture capital funding to be distinguished. And as the founder and CEO, Arjun's role was obviously critical. So 3 criteria met. He's in the clear, right? Well, not so fast. So Arjun has the proof, he's checked the boxes, and it really feels like he's over the biggest hurdle. But this is where the US immigration system throws a massive curveball. He's just cleared the am I extraordinary enough hurdle, only to slam right into the sponsorship paradox. You might be thinking, wait, aren't there other visas for this? Well, let's look at the usual suspects. The H-1B? It's a lottery, and it's really not built for founders who need control of their own company. The L-1A? That's for big multinational companies transferring executives. TensorScale was brand new. So, nope. The O-1A was really the only game in town. And here is the massive catch-22. With an O-1 visa, you need a US employer to petition for you. You can't just sponsor yourself. But Arjun is the employer. His company needs to sponsor him, but he's the one in charge of the company. You see the problem? It's this completely circular logic that can just stop an application dead in its tracks. And if you dig into it, this is really the heart of the issue. An early-stage startup, it just doesn't look like a traditional company to immigration officials. There's no separate board of directors that could technically hire or fire the founder. There's no independent HR department. Heck, there might not even be a US payroll system set up yet. The company and the founder are, for all practical purposes, the same entity. So, how do you solve this seemingly impossible problem? Well, this is where the lawyers get creative, borrowing a really clever idea from a totally different world. It's called the Agent-Petitioner Model, and it's a brilliant little piece of legal structuring. Basically, a U.S. agent, a person or company, steps in and files the petition on behalf of both the founder and their company. And just like that, you've created the legal separation that the law requires. You have an external petitioner. And what's so cool about this is that it's not some brand new, untested legal trick. This model has been around for ages. It was originally designed for people like artists, actors, and models. You know, they might work for 10 different movie studios or fashion brands in a year. Instead of getting 10 different visas, their agent files one master petition that covers all that work. It's the same exact concept, just cleverly applied to solve the founder's sponsorship problem. So what does this actually look like? It's surprisingly simple. Step 1. Arjun's company passes a board resolution. It's just a simple legal document. Step 2. That document officially gives a U.S. agent, who is often the immigration attorney themselves, the power to act on the company's behalf. Step 3. The agent files the petition. And Step 4. Once it's approved, Arjun is now legally able to work for his own company in the U.S. Problem solved. So Arjun's story is a perfect case study of how a creative legal workaround can unlock a ton of potential. But this is about so much more than just one founder or one company. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. Because the data on this is just crystal clear. You look at research from places like the Kauffman Foundation, and it's undeniable. Immigrant entrepreneurs have this massive, outsized impact on the U.S. economy. They're behind a huge percentage of the country's fastest growing startups and so-called unicorns. So letting them in isn't just a favor to one person. It's a smart, strategic move for the whole country. And just think about the ripple effects that a single founder like Arjun can create. Their company doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It boosts productivity. It creates high-paying, skilled jobs for Americans. It helps keep the country at the forefront of technology. And it brings new knowledge and new ideas into the ecosystem. It's an incredible return on investment. So it all leaves us with this final thought. When you really deconstruct the O-1A visa, you see it's more than just a bureaucratic process. It's a mechanism, a filter, that's designed to identify and welcome in people who can create incredible value. Which raises one last really important question. What is the true value of a single extraordinary founder? Or maybe, what's the real cost to an economy when it fails to let one in?